Mr. President, we have a national emergency.
This is one of the things that we can shoot first and ask questions later. Normally you can't do that.
All of a sudden, these trees started moving out of the way. They parted for me. And then I came out into this opening, and there where I saw Jesus Christ.
Back in 1927, an American socialist, Norman Thomas, 6 times candidate for president on the Socialist Party ticket, said the American people would never vote for socialism. But he said under the name of liberalism, the American people will adopt every fragment of the socialist program. He is more imminent. James Madison, in 1788, speaking to the Virginia Convention, said, "Since the general civilization of mankind, I believe there are more instances of the abridgment of the freedom of the people by gradual and silent encroachment of those in power than by violent and sudden usurpations." When men were free.
Broadcasting live from a secret location buried deep below the earth, you're about to make a connection to the signs of the times. W. Dean Shook is live on the air right now. Do you think the media is biased? Maybe they're leaving something out, or there's something they're not telling you. Now, you have a source for the truth in the news. W. Dean Shook, End Time News. Your connection to the signs of the times.
Today we're doing part 2 of the abortion discussion that we started on our last program. We ran out of time. There was so much more to cover. We're going to cover that today. And the subjects, what we're going to do, here's the agenda. I'm going to start with the Roe versus Wade story. Now, everybody knows that Roe v. Wade is the one that really catalyzed abortion in this country. And we're going to hear the truth about that. And then I'm going to share some information that I'll bet you didn't know about that's probably going to shock you as much as it shocked me when I came across this story. But as usual, beginning of the program, we're going to wait for everybody to join us because some folks show up a little bit late. So I would like to play a song before we start our discussion. And this is a song by a woman named, what is her name? I better get my ducks in a row here, huh? Her name is Donna Lee. And Donna Lee has done a wonderful song about the regret that comes after abortions. And we know that this is a major issue after abortions. This is not only a regret, but guilt, just an overall sense of dread that lasts a lifetime after an abortion. So enjoy this song by Donna Lee. We'll come right back and start our discussion. Don't go away.
I want so much to hold you as tired as I can be. but very hard for you. They told you things would be alright. Your life would just go on, but never said how much you weep and grieve when I've been gone. Whispers from heaven, I call to you with love. Whispers from heaven, from my home above. We can still be very close and love each other too. But though I'm now gone, I'll always be a part of you.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for that song. It's really a sad thing to have to deal with. You know, this doesn't just apply to mothers either. This applies to fathers who really have no choice in the matter. All the rights go to the woman. The father has no rights until the baby is born. Then the father is responsible for everything. But before that, has no choice. So I want to tell you that may be a little bit shocking. After I do this, I want to play a small clip about Roe v. Wade so that we understand that. Now, I want you to understand what Roe v. Wade truly was all about, and things that the liberals, the progressives, and the pro-abortion people will never tell you. But first, I want to tell you something that you may not be familiar with. And this was absolutely shocking to me. Now, this has a lot of medical terms in it. I'm not a medical doctor, and I'm not very versed in medical terms. So if I mispronounce some of these, pardon me. But this is important for us to understand. I'll give some of these medical terms the best I can. If you folks would just be patient and hang with me while I mispronounce a bunch of this stuff. Now, you know, I don't know if everybody was aware of this, but as we get the program rolling here, I'm going to start with something that's going to shock you, and that is, I'll bet you didn't know that in vaccines you will find human cells in vaccines. Now, these human cells don't come from adults. They come from aborted babies. So when people go in and get abortions, you think all we've ever really heard was that the aborted baby goes in a bio-waste canister or in a dumpster or is disposed of in some way. But in reality, some of these doctors and clinics are actually making money on these aborted babies by selling them for what's called, quote-unquote, research. And in this research, they take the cells of these aborted babies and use the cells and the small DNA cells and put these in vaccines. Now, I'm going to back this up with this story. It says the chickenpox, hepatitis A, and MMR vaccines were developed using aborted fetal cell lines. Aborted fetal cell lines. They're called MRC5 and WI-38. Now, this has never been hidden from the public. When parents take their children to the doctor for inoculations, who asks for the package inserts? Who asks for a list of the vaccine's ingredients? Most parents want to know the risk and the possible side effects. Parents are mostly concerned with the health of their children, as some doctors are. Now, doctors have been administering the vaccines for years, yet how many of them have been checked into the ingredients? This has always been right at their fingertips. What would happen if they did? They would read that the vaccine contains MRC5 and WI-38 or both. These are human diploid cell lines. Most parents are not aware that the particular abortions which contribute to fetal tissue parts for vaccine manufacturing were actually intended for vaccine manufacturing. That's what they were intended for. One is the most highly misunderstood notion among moral theologians and ethicists is that abortions involved were not done with the intention of creating vaccines. In fact, in response to President Bush's decision on federal funding for embryonic stem cell research, the USCCB highlights it this way, and I'm reading at what they say here. In the present case, human lives were taken in order to provide cells for research and in some cases precisely to qualify for federal grants. In the case of the vaccines, tissues were taken following abortions performed for unrelated reasons. It was the intent of the abortionists and the researchers to destroy these babies specifically for vaccine manufacturing. But first, the abortions had to be prearranged so the researchers were available to immediately preserve the tissues. In order to sustain 96% of the cells, the live tissue would need to be preserved within 5 minutes of the abortion. Within one cell would continue to deteriorate, rendering the specimens useless. Now, in 1961, Leonard Hayflick, employed by the Winstar Institute, which is a research facility at the University of Pennsylvania, started working with aborted fetal cells WI-1 through WI-25. Cell strains were derived from the lung, skin, muscle, kidney, heart, thyroid, and liver in 19 abortions. The entire research was for the development of viral vaccine cultivations. The isolation of characterization of human diploid cell strains from the fetal tissue make this type of cell available as for the production of live virus vaccines. Other than the economic advantages, such strains in constraint to heteropolarized cell lines exhibit those characteristics usually reserved for normal or primary cells and therefore make the consideration of their use in production of human virus vaccines a distinct possibility. This is what their research found. Now, 1964, Hayflick isolates and gives names to the W138 cell line derived from the lungs of a baby girl 3 months in gestation. That's 12 weeks. The fetus was chosen by Dr. Sven Gard specifically for this purpose. Both parents are known. Unfortunately for the story, they are married to each other still and alive and well and living in Stockholm. The abortion was done because they felt they had too many children. There were no familiar disease in the family of either parent, no history of cancer specifically in the families. One of the duties as a young student in the laboratory in Stockholm was to dissect human fetuses for legal abortions and send organs to the Winstar Institute. Such material was the source of many important studies of cell lines for the institutes, such as Leonard Hayflick's study of W138. Now, preying on the fear of that 20 to 25% of pregnant women infected with rubella, passage